much about like video, like studio sort of production, right? Because I've just been like having to run around and manage everything. I learned how to take like nice DSLR pictures because I had to take them for my paper, so that was cool.
Fancy.
Yeah.
I don't even know what DSLR is.
Huh?
Which paper is this?
I submitted my first author paper to a robotics conference.
Oh man.
So, yeah.
Good job.
Yep.
I was gonna come celebrate with you, dude, but then I had so many papers to write. But...
it was chill. We ended up going clubbing to the Middle East, which ended up being goth night.
Oh my god, now I'm really regretting not going.
I don't know, like I've been to a couple goth nights and I'm still sort of confused about what the concept of goth night is, but my friend really liked it, so...
You just dance like you're switching light bulbs and then goth.
Is this working? Let's say it's going. Okay, cool, that looks like it's going. Alright. Yeah.
Okay. Alright,
Question cards.
Oh my god.
Introductions first, okay. Because I just been like saying, like, oh, you're the surprise guest. So.
Oh, I'm a surprise guest? Oh, wow.
I was crossing last night, like, do you have more mommy issues or daddy issues? Answer that one on Twitch if you want.
Wow. Anyway, hello, I'm Loren Sherman. I made Gallifreyan a while back. I don't know how much context I should give for that.
How do people know it's not drugs?
Well, questionable. I don't know, 2011, I was in high school. I really liked making alphabets. I made a circular alphabet. Doctor Who fans picked it up as the sort of Gallifreyan alphabet from
you
Doctor
didn't
Who.
pitch it as Gallifreyan originally?
Not initially.
Oh!
Not until one of my friends was like, hey, this looks like Gallifreyan from Doctor Who, and then I wrote up a, like, guide to Gallifreyan.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. But no, originally it was totally unrelated and just like a circle alphabet. Then it went super viral and people started getting like tattoos and stuff and lots of really cute romantic engravings on like rings and whatnot. It made it to the show really recently. So I guess that's how it's been relevant. I'm surprised it's still relevant after 6 years. I sort of expected it to peter off.
Wait, and
I'm surprised Doctor Who's still relevant after 50 years.
Doctor Who's kind of like a weird show, I feel like. I also don't know what view, because like the empty Firefox is also weird, but I don't know if like looking at ourselves is also weird. So
I don't know, man.
I don't know, I'll just keep doing empty
Depends
Firefox.
if you want me to just be fixing my hair for this entire thing.
Yep, same here.
Okay. No, I think Doctor Who's kind of an interesting show, in that like, it's like, on the surface, the plotline, like, why is it still relevant after 50 years?
I think they came up with the exact right combination of like this narrative mechanics to make sure that they just had an endless stream of actors and like new things to add to the show without it being out of nowhere.
Right, like if all of time and space is in fact your setting, it turns out I think you can come up with a lot of material.
Okay.
Right.
So yeah, so I'm Lily. I guess you guys probably know me because I'm the person on this stream. So I was on Jeopardy in 2017 for February. And I managed to say something dumb, which is, who's the spiciest Memelord on national television? Intending this as a shout-out for my friends, but, like, it's very popular on the internet.
A little bit.
A little bit. So I guess, like, my fame is a very different kind than Loren's, in that, like, now it's, 6 months, or, 10 months after the fact, and, like, despite the fact that I went back on the show of Jeopardy, like, people have basically forgotten who I am, which I'm, like, pretty happy
Wait,
about.
no, people know your face. People know your voice at the grocery store.
No, like, they stopped bothering me. It's probably the yeah, like, I don't know, like, I guess the last time I was recognized was, like, over Thanksgiving break, so I guess maybe that's still recent. That's still recent.
That's pretty recent.
Okay. I guess, like, maybe since I've been, like, holed up in lab this entire time, I'm just, like, not...
I mean, like, how frequently was it happening before Thanksgiving break?
Like, pretty frequent. Like, I would say, like, every other time I was out and about. People
wow.
Yeah. Was,
That's a lot.
So yeah, so we have like 2 cases of like pretty viral internet fame. Whether it's like...
Make it sound like an outbreak.
It is, right?
2 viral cases of...
I feel like Jenkins takes issue with the word viral because he says this is a fundamentally negative connotation that we have on internet media because it's suggesting that like the sort of contagion internet media has like an infectious, harmful view thing as opposed to like a positive spreading thing.
Well, I mean, like, but memes are like genes, right? Like, I feel like, you know, that's the like
I think that's why I like the term viral.
Yeah.
But, wow. But I've been informed that other people feel less positively about the it's a lie feeling about things on the internet, and that's not like a positively connotated thing for some.
Well, I mean, you know that meme came from Dawkins, right?
Dawkins? Yes.
Okay, so like selfish meme is just like a double...
Exactly, the meme of meme came from
like, we've completed the circle here, folks.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, maybe you should introduce yourself and just ask this question.
Yeah. I'm Mehitabel. I'm very frequently here having feelings about media studies. I guess I'm moderating. I guess. Okay.
Which one of us is the head and which one of us is the hand is the scenario.
I kind of feel like with your respective fame things, Legion's the head and you're the hand.
That makes a lot of sense.
I'm missing...
It's a Metropolis reference.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, Alloy Orchestra Week, I guess, coming up at some point, in which case that reference will be explained.
Yeah, I actually got the soundtrack for it, and I have a CD player, so like this can that can happen.
Oh, nice.
Anytime.
Okay, well, I guess tune in the future, viewers.
Yeah. So internet fame. I guess, yeah, you're friends with both of us, so I guess. So what questions do you have for us about, like, because I've never talked to you about this, which was, like, part of the
You talked to me once, but I don't think you remember most of it.
This was the housewarming party, wasn't it?
Yes, this was the housewarming
I
party.
do remember talking to you about it, but I don't remember any conclusions I came out of it.
It wasn't too much talking.
Okay.
It was a fun time.
Yeah. And, like, I'm not sure I have better questions for you than, like, you have for each other, because, like, you have, like, bits of the relevant experience you ask the other person about, whereas, like, I have...
I don't know, but the secret of the moderators, you just, like, jump in and pretend you're mediating the experience, but actually you're just, like, you know, trying to get the other person to talk as much as possible.
Yeah,
well, I mean, that's like what it is, right? So... the mic is peaking. Okay. No, we're too loud.
Lucky?
Yeah, think of questions. God.
Okay. I don't know, man. I study media. I'm not media. Can I mediate this? Nah.
That should be better. Okay. So I don't know. Yeah, I think it's okay.
Yeah. So you were saying before that like you feel like your like type of internet fame is like a very different sort from Loren's because like it was like much more like hard hitting and then temporary.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, like want to like talk more about that, like how you feel like those experiences were different.
I guess like so. I mean, just thinking about like you didn't even intend this for like a Doctor Who thing at first, right? And it just sort of like bubbled up, I guess, from like the fans into like kind of strong arming the TV show. It's like, okay, I guess we have to put this reference in now. Whereas for mine, it was very much like an individual action, I guess. Mm-hmm. And there's no like now Jeopardy really likes it because they want that 18 to 35 age demographic. But it was kind of like just like a random like in that moment I had a lot of agency, and then so like then the after effects got really attributed to me. Whereas like probably there's some people who think like Gallifreyan is like an official show thing.
Yeah, that's a big struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I very much recall the day after the Spiciest Memelord thing, it was just everywhere. I couldn't stop laughing about it for a day. So it was definitely a very sudden thing. Whereas with Gallifreyan, it was more like, oh, look, this is a surprising number of people, posting their own Gallifreyan stuff, like Tumblr or whatever. Oh, look, it's all over Reddit. There's a subreddit for this. Maybe I should... That was when I got on Reddit. I wasn't on Reddit before that.
Are you now on Reddit?
I am not, barely.
Man.
I should be more. That's a regret I have. I should be like more involved with the Gallifreyan.
That's actually an interesting question. Is like, what sort of internet communities do you think like you respectively like are most famous in, and like how do you feel about those communities?
So like I think I've chosen Reddit just as my main thing, just because it's much easier to like 4chan, right? Like the content is like varies a lot, and like. There's no signifier of, like, me as a special person. Whereas for Reddit, they've got, like, flares and stuff like that. It's a little easier. Twitter, I just don't understand, and you can't have a conversation on Twitter. And, like, Facebook, I'm not using my personal Facebook to interact with people. So it just seemed that Reddit like, the other possibility would be, like, Jeopardy-specific forums, that it would be a reasonable place, but, like, I don't care about Jeopardy that much. So I think...
Scandalous.
Yeah. So it just turned out that, like, Reddit, like, was the media forum that, like, fit in that niche.
Are you even that famous on Jeopardy forums? Like, the people on the Jeopardy forums care about memes, or do they just care about, like, people like Jeopardy?
They just care about people like Jeopardy things, you know. So, like, they were excited about me because, like, they're like, oh, like, she plays really well, and, like, they had all their brackets and spreadsheets about, like, how, whatchamacallit, like, how they think I was going to do in the performance, but...
That must have been a bizarre feeling, seeing yourself as part of a bracket.
I mean, that was also funny, because, like, some people were like, oh, she's, like, gold tier, she's gonna beat everybody, and I was like, oh, that sucks, I will always, like, I hope you don't put money on this kid. Yeah. What about, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, it's pretty divided. I think it's probably most associated with Tumblr in my mind, just because Tumblr has a lockdown on the whole Doctor Who fandom thing, and I think a lot of pop culture contexts.
It's sure lockdown, you might say.
A what?
No.
Sure, yeah.
Repeating.
Super Who lockdown, in fact.
Oh my god.
Okay, we're...
The...
Hello, 2014.
I mean, yeah, that's when it was. It's been going on for 6 years. But there's definitely, like, there's a subreddit, like I said before, and they're all about the, like, you know, fine artisanally crafted Gallifreyan thing. Somebody translated the entire preamble to the Constitution once, and I think that's not even the longest thing there at this point. Very helpful community where everyone, like, translates stuff for each other. And then Facebook, which is, I've been made a moderator honorarily on the Gallifreyan page, which mostly just receives translation requests for people's names. I've stopped doing translation requests at this point. There are just too many.
Wait, so that's one thing I guess that's weird to me is that how is, like, it's like, what do fans of an alphabet do? Like, because I know people who do conlang and stuff like that, like, make constructed languages, but, like you say, it's mostly translation requests, so I guess...
Right.
It seems sort of strange.
Translation requests and, like, I don't know, I did not realize that the alphabet would go viral when I made it, so it's, like, kind of confusing, so there are a lot of questions on, like, weird edge cases with how to draw it, and it's also very open-ended. There's lots of room for artistic interpretation, so, like, there are whole genres of Gallifreyan where people will make, like, hexagonal Gallifreyan, or Gallifreyan in 3 dimensions, and it still technically says stuff, because the system I made was so, like, vague.
So I think that's one thing interesting is that, like, for the Memelord thing, like, people are like, oh, like we gotta make this a meme because it's so funny. But it turns out there's, like, nothing you can do to remix it. So I think it's cool that since it was so, like, open-ended, right, that it really became, like...
I mean, that's my favorite part about it, definitely. Yeah. Seeing, like, I do have that very much, like, it's alive!
Like, and, like, you're gonna get all Richard Dawkins about it. Like, he, in fact, uses the word meme primarily to talk about languages, and the fact that, like, forms of communication would be ultimate viral thing.
I thought he was talking about it religion.
He also talks about religion, but he actually first brings that in as he's like, this is about languages, and then he's like, also, I'm gonna use this point to be hella salty about religion, because I'm Dawkins.
Dawkins. Amazing.
But, like, Steven Pinker also has a lot of early writing about, like, he's one of the first people who picks up the concept of meme and also talk about language and stuff, so...
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of what we see from fans is, like, translation requests, but also, like, I did a Gallifreyan thing, check it out, this is cool, like, I submitted this Gallifreyan piece to a fancy art gallery and it looks super classy, but it actually says fuck bitches get money and nobody knows. I'm allowed to swear on this, right? I feel... I know.
So the FCC, like...
I know, I'm also on WMBR, we're not allowed to swear on that.
The FCC, this is why Twitch is, like, a lot... It feels like a radio
free and open internet, the FCC is no power over us!
Yeah, support net neutrality!
Say fuck so I don't have to say it in Gallifreyan.
Who's this? Oh, rip ears. Oh, like, jeez. Turn this down more. It turns out we're, like, loud people, I guess.
Turns out.
Alright, let's try this again. Oh, man.
Yeah. It does seem interesting, though, that, like, in some ways, like, I think you seem a lot more involved in the kind of ongoing community, like, about Gallifrey, and, like, I guess, like, in some ways, because, like, Lilly being a meme is much more like, it's like, Lilly is the meme, and, like, you know, like, there's not, like, isn't really make sense as much for like there to be a way that you are involved in being the meme that you have become, I guess, and as opposed to like making a thing where like people still give you some sort of authorship control over the thing you made.
I think authorship is a big thing, right? Like it's definitely like I am the meme, you know, and then so Photoshops were like something that went around, right? But like yeah, definitely like I don't have any authorship over it, right? Like so like people the MIT Democrats like used my image for promotional material, and so like a lot of people assume that like I gave my okay. I was like, no, like it's an internet thing. I just like Bad Luck Brian and all of those image macro people. Yeah. Like I saw an interview with the Mom of Success kid, which is like the kid like with the fist. And she was super creeped out at first. She was like, "Why are people using pictures of my baby everywhere?" And then she was like, "Oh, it's an internet thing, I guess." Like, yeah. Yeah, I think the authorship thing is interesting because I'm actually really surprised to find out it wasn't intentionally like Gallifreyan.
I mean, it was at the point that it went viral, but in its very first stages, it wasn't.
So, like, do you know who like spread it?
Was
it one of your friends?
Let me try to. So the reason I had the Circle alphabet. My friends were also. This was not the first and only Gallifreyan alphabet. There are lots of Gallifreyan alphabets out there. And in fact, one of my friends had also made a Gallifreyan alphabet. And I had a lot of friends who were Whovians, and I was kind of into the show. So one of them, I forget who, suggested one time, like, oh, hey, like, that alphabet that you made looks kind of like Gallifreyan. I was like, huh, okay, well, I guess I can join the Gallifreyan alphabet making club, and I'll just be another one of the many, like, weird fandom Gallifreyans. And I think it was, oh god, it was DeviantArt. That's what it was. When I first posted the guide.
Oh man.
That account that I haven't touched for 5 years, probably.
And probably you still get comments on it.
God, I should check that.
You probably it's still alive, and that's weird to me. But like, it is going strong.
Oh, right. Too many keyboards. Okay, let's see the. I want to see the. Yes, the fancy scene transition. Okay, so let's see what's your deviant.
Oh god. I've been trapped. No, I think it was Black Hat Guy. I think that was the...
You do wear black hats.
Of course it was.
Right? Like, no, this is a deep delve into my shameful internet history.
Okay, we're going to search DeviantArt Circular Gallifreyan. We got comments that says, OA, original alphabet, do not steal.
No, please steal. Remix all you want.
Oh, man. Leonidas 098? No. That doesn't sound right. Rose Dragon Guardian 92. Oh man. I don't. Oh, this is you. I wonder why I didn't show. Oh, I have to put it before. Not okay. It's a subdomain, not.
Wow, this brings me back.
Black Hat Guy. October 17th, 2017. Windows users will have to install Java to make it work.
Yeah, so I think a large part of the reason why it went viral and all the other Gallifreyans didn't is because I made a shitty Java translator for it, and that's this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
And so people wouldn't have to actually learn the system. They could just download the translator and be like, oh, it's my name.
How do I make it? Hopefully an iOS version will eventually be made.
And it was. not by me, but it was.
Well, I think the passive voice was like the correct one to use there then.
Is this safe to use? Thank you so much. I love it. I just wish I could type in more than just 5 words. In love.
Oh
my god. I forgot. Oh boy.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, this wasn't even back at the beginning. This was the translator announcement.
Oh my god. Oh, look, it's you.
Right?
That's me. That's the cover art for this this episode. I feel like the real cover art for this episode is the Spiciest Memelord thing, but in Gallifreyan, right? Like,
Wait,
I really want to do that edit.
That's a lot, my dude.
You found the single most shameful picture. That's not almost the most shameful picture.
Okay, yeah, the chat's comments is like, I should stop embarrassing you. So.
It was sticking out for you.
I'm so very proud of some of those pictures. Like, it turns out the saying "I love you" in Gallifreyan fits real well on like a heart-shaped cookie, and that's like A+.
Oh my god.
I'd forgotten that I made those. So thank you for reminding me.
So you put it. Oh, so you put it on DeviantArt, and then like with the translator.
Yeah, and I think basically nothing happened. So I developed it at summer camp at CTY, and I just kind of like put it out into the world and was like, oh yeah, people kind of like this on DeviantArt. I think it was over, and it was also on my website, which I still just sort of haven't updated since high school.
Oh boy!
Oh my god! And the tip-off was when I just had this file, this PDF, this Guide to Gallifreyan, hosted on my Google site, and over Christmas break that year, I got this email from Google being like, your site has exceeded the maximum bandwidth allowed. Do you want to upgrade your account? Wow! And I traced this back to people viewing this guide so much that it exceeded the bandwidth. And of course, I was like not paying for this. It was the minimum bandwidth, but
right. And you're probably like, what scrubs are like? Why am I using the maximum bandwidth? Yeah. And
then I looked into it and I checked Tumblr, and it was all over Tumblr. And it was Etsy. It was all over Etsy. Was the other thing. People were making like artisanal Gallifreyan merchandise.
Vintage.
Yeah. All the way from the Time War days or whatever. So yeah, that was sort of the discovery process of that was my moment of like, oh, this is a thing. TM.
I like that no one told you, and that
nobody told me.
I really do like that's like this algorithmic thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, with you were like much more immediately aware of it because you were doing like a lot of curation of what people were saying on the internet. Right?
Because
how were you curating things?
I knew what was going to happen, right?
Wait, what kind of control did you have over what?
None, right? Like so I did it. I was on stage. I knew I was going to win, and so I said Spiciest Memelord, right? And I was like, great, this is hilarious. My friends are gonna like this. And then I remember at the after party, one of the other contestants came up to me and said, oh, you're going to get so many hits on BuzzFeed. And it was that moment where I was like, oh man, I screwed up.
BuzzFeed is that's real.
Yeah, just think about it. Like, oh, you're like, like, a lot of the people who went on Jeopardy, they're like huge fans of the show. And so, like, for a lot of them, this is, like, achieving a sort of, like, lifelong dream to be on, and they're very nervous and stuff. I was nervous because I wanted to do well and make money, right? But, like, because, like, you if you like trivia as a kid, you grow up and you see Jeopardy on TV. But it never hit me what it means to be on national television. Yeah. So after the girls said it, I was like bracing myself for like I don't know what's going to happen. Another previous Jeopardy contestant had retweeted all of the hate that she had gotten, which and like in aggregate, like curated by someone who is like the person of attack, it actually becomes really funny, right? Because it's like look at all of these petty people. So that's what I did. I like went through. I actually did this on a stream on here where I just like went through all the internet comments, like Twitter, Jeopardy, forums. And it's actually funny because so it's a back-to-back final. Mm-hmm. So it takes a long time to just comb through all the social media stuff. So I was like, okay, whatever. Like, I can't do this tonight, but I'll do it tomorrow, and I'll do it since it's back-to-back. I'll do it all in one go, right? And I can't get those old internet comments now because they're just buried under like spiciest Memelord crap. So in terms of curation, I actually had no control over the image, right? I've signed off all of my rights to Jeopardy.
Right.
So actually, at the Tournament of Champions, they had me record more Memelord promos.
Wait, what?
Even though at that point, it's like totally cringy, right? Mm-hmm. Like, like President Reif like said it at convention, and then like one of my friends was like, "It's dead." Exactly.
Did they pay you extra to record Memelord promos?
No, it's just like you're there. They say jump and you ask how high, like right, like in the things. It even says in the thing that I'm technically not supposed to badmouth Jeopardy. Oh my god. Well, they're somewhere that they really want that 18 to 35 demographic. Oh, that was something weird. In October, it came up again on Reddit because Jeopardy took out Instagram ads. Oh, okay.
Wait, I gotta see this.
Okay, if we're talking about like cringy stuff, like now
so
we're
ready.
We're
Here
on.
we can embarrass Jeopardy as much as we've been embarrassing Loren.
You looked at my goddamn deviant.
Wait. Okay. Loren, are you a furry?
Don't worry about it. It's one of the few internet shame pasts that I do not have.
Does it count as being a furry if you're just 1,000 cockroaches in a human suit?
Cockroaches do have hair, yes.
No, I mean, the cockroach is a furry for dressing up in a human suit.
Oh, I don't know. Are the cockroaches attracted to humans?
I don't know.
Oh my god, wait, is this...
This is an official, like, this showed up on, like, a lot of people's Instagrams. At 18 to 35 ad demographic, or, like, I guess it was...
so sorry.
18 to 32. So, like, I had friends, like, from Georgia being like, why are you on my Instagram ads? Like, and then, so this is r/fellow kids, which is, like... you got your Steve like, how do you do, fellow kids? Because that 18 to 35 male ad demographic is like the most profitable thing. So yeah, like
this could be you.
This could be you.
Being made into a...
Not sure if this counts as fellow kids material. It actually happened, and people are like kind of dying. Change this could be you to bottom text, and this could pass as an ironic shitty meme, which is a pretty good one. Oh, there's me. So they're talking about it. It's like, oh, hey, it's you, but you could be me. And so, like, yeah, this was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's also, like, really funny to me because it's like how little they know. So they saw the results that they saw like this huge spike in like searches for Jeopardy, and they're like, we gotta capitalize the shit out of this, right? But like they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, I also think it's funny like that this could be you, you know, like on one hand could refer to like this could be you could be on Jeopardy and internet famous, but it's also like this could be you, like in a shitty ad.
You too could be a meme.
Wait, I really like that. Oh,
it was kind of true on every level, in a sort of beautifully ironic way.
Oh my god. But yeah, and apparently it worked. Like I was talking to people in the subreddit and they're like, yeah, I'll try out for Jeopardy now. And I was like,
wow. That's incredible.
Well, like the kids, you know, the deal with glasses has not been a thing since 2010. You know, and the people pointed out they didn't even bother to flip the glasses the right way.
Wait, yeah.
That was intentional.
Yeah, it's kind of like a beautiful artifact of like slices of different eras of meme culture combined into one horrifying chimera.
Like, I'm almost expecting to see a little like 9-gag watermark on the one corner. Like that's.
Oh my god. Anyways, Jeopardy college results are out now, so this would be somebody. Maybe the kid who tried out because of this ad is now. But see now that I'm actually kind of curious how the college stream is gonna go. Because what if they get just like a bunch of like cringy meme lords who like did try out for the show, so that could be them, right?
Or maybe that's Jeopardy's like new demo. Like maybe that's their rebranding. Maybe.
That would be hilarious.
Era of television.
But then it's the concept of like a forced meme. Right? Where it's like, oh, like, well, probably, like, I don't know. Jeopardy's demographic is already, like, 65, so I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious, like, you talk a lot about, like, you know, like, going to Jeopardy and, like, not really anticipating, like, how much the, like, fame was going to take off, like, especially, like, from the Memelord thing, like, that was mostly kind of, like, a reference, like, you were making for friends, and then it kind of, like, took off. Like, going into the show, did you have, like, any sort of sense that, like, this at least was going to be, like, some sort of internet fame, or, like, was that a at all desirable thing for you about Jeopardy? Was that it was being on national television, or like?
No, it's purely the money. That's like, and then also I had seen my friends on Jeopardy before, and I think the thing that was cool about that was like, oh, you're on TV. Like I know this kid. That's awesome, right? But I would just be as excited if it was on like the local news, right? Like if there was like, I don't know, a really bad traffic jam, and like the traffic car like came to one of my teachers and be like, "How do you feel?" I was like, "Oh, it sucks to be in traffic," and I'm like, I would be just as excited to see my my teacher.
Yeah, so if you want cringy material with me, I have been on Cambridge Public Television on a cartoonist drawing show that one of my friends ran for like a week.
That sounds pretty cool.
That happened, but
that's pretty great.
That actually sounds pretty cool. But like, I would be just as excited about that, right?
After a certain scale, it just stops being more, or
no, I think like I guess like it's like it's on TV, right? Like you've already like been part of the media infrastructure that is television.
Yes,
right. Just like I used to do filming for my high school's football team, so like film games and stuff like that. And it was just the same thing. Like people were excited to be on camera because even though like it's a tiny audience of like who cares about a bad high school football team. Yeah, but like people are excited because like
as someone who ran around a lot with a camera in high school, like yes, that
was right, yeah,
that's definitely the case.
So like I don't I don't know. Like, I was definitely, like, there were things that ticked me off, like, now looking back on it, that, like, I had done film crew in high school, and then seeing, like, how Jeopardy was so put together and very professional, I was like, wow, look, this is the big leagues now. But, I don't know. I'm happy for the experience, at least just for, like, seeing what large media infrastructure looks like.
Yeah.
And it's a lot, and I feel like it's the one thing to be, like, so I feel like now in this age that, especially like you like create like you've created the alphabet and then like it spreads, or like you do all these like short film stuff and then like you can get your voice out there. So since these like large media things are no longer the sole content creator, it's like less cool. Like it's
sort of funny that like even though like you're like also kind of famous through a large media creator, like the real reason for like the particular fame also is those same like internet kind of fan networks of like less visual creation.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is you are a little bit famous not just for being on Jeopardy, but for having created the Spiciest Memelord meme. That's a big part of this.
Because I was talking to like a previous contestant, and I was saying like, man, like my Facebook is kind of exploding. He won like the teen tournament or something, and he's like, oh, don't worry, it'll die out in about a month.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like,
and
then it just kept going. But like so there's like a half-life for these things. So definitely like, but like, was it my intent to like inject this and like search engine optimization? Let's go, boys. Not at all. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, because that's what they're doing now. That's what kills me, right? Like, like I feel like alphabet nerds are not nearly as. But you said they were selling merch before it was in the actual show.
Yes. Okay. I mean, there's a long and complicated history of merch. I think at one point, the BBC did pick this up and used it to sell some sort of like collector's edition Sonic Screwdriver box set thing. And I did get consulted for that, which is the only thing the BBC has ever consulted me about, even tangentially. I don't know, is now the time to tell the story of the hilarious promos with the...
Yeah.
Okay. So at one point...
Official moderator, okay.
BBC was like, it would be a great idea to use this fan-made Gallifreyan to advertise the show in subliminal messages between frames on the trailer for this new series of Doctor Who. And... we're gonna make it all like sneaky, like ooh, we don't know the episode titles, but if you decipher the Gallifreyan, you can figure them out. But we're not gonna tell you what they are. We're just gonna flash them real quick in between frames. Except they didn't consult me or anybody who was good at doing Gallifreyan, and I think they might have used one of the awful translators that somebody put out there. And it was just completely indecipherable. So you had these internet people being like, they're flashing messages in Gallifreyan. Is this it? And it says, who can you look I wonder what cipher they're using. Wow, this is like, they thought so hard about this. This is like some puzzle hunt shit right here. And eventually, we as a community sort of figured out that no, they just hadn't translated it correctly. But I found that really funny. Mm-hmm. But no, the main source of merchandise is actually people who are somewhere between independent content creators and the official BBC, like John Green is. I've emailed back and forth with the Green brothers and their dad, who handles all their finances, which and for a while I was getting royalties from the like exorbitant amount of people buying Fault in Our Stars t-shirts in Gallifreyan.
What is even the... Forgot
like,
there's
a lot of cross between those demographics.
Well, that's like peak Tumblr.
I know, I once was that cross.
And that's not happening anymore. I realized that once I was out of high school, it was very silly to charge royalties for any sort of Gallifreyan, and I feel a little bit bad about doing that originally. But I feel like John Green has at least a little money to spare.
Well, like, is it? Like, why do you feel weird?
I don't know. I like the idea of releasing Gallifreyan into the wild like a Dawkins meme and just sort of like seeing where it goes. And I feel like charging anybody any sort of money for that is sort of inhibiting that growth somehow.
So I think that's interesting because I feel like most people, right, when Ken Bone got famous, the first thing he did was like capitalize on that, right? Like selling Ken Bone t-shirts and whatever. So I find it interesting that like it's sort of this like, it's alive, like, let's, yeah.
Right, and I mean, the situation would be different if I were struggling, right?
Right.
If I were out of a job, I would be like, hey, so who wants Gallifreyan merch? I would probably be making it.
Uh-huh.
But as it is, like, no, I just enjoy seeing this thing. And I guess indirectly, I did put Gallifreyan on my college app, and it did get me into MIT. MIT probably landed me my current gig, so, like, indirectly.
Does anyone ever made merch of you, or have you ever made merch of you?
I mean, there's the beer and the burrito, so...
Oh, yes!
Yeah.
Wait, there's a beer? I only knew about the burrito.
There's a beer. Okay.
Please show me this. Are they still doing the Spiciest Memelord burrito?
They are, but it's not on the menu, but you can still get it.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm glad. I never got the chance to get that, so maybe
I feel like it's definitely like merch in a kind of different respect, though. Like, it's it's much more of a branding thing and much less of a, like, buying the materialized form of the meme thing.
Can we not? Like, you can get a Zazzle t-shirt with my face on it. So this is some brewery in Colorado. Spiciest Memelord.
So weird.
Is a raspberry habanero kettle sour.
Dang.
But is it good?
I haven't had it because it's like
road trip.
So I messaged them and they were like, whatchamacallit? Oh, this is a collaboration and it was a one-off thing. I saw it on Reddit and thought it was hilarious, so that's why I made it. But yeah, like the last time, like it's in May, so like I think all of them have been drunk at this point. So
every Spiciest Memelord has been drunk at some point.
So like if they ever decide to like make this again, like I would really appreciate them sending me something, but I don't know if that's gonna happen.
That would be pretty cool.
No.
I guess that also, like, maybe kind of ties into this sort of, like, question of, like, authorship and, like, compensation. Like, it seems like a lot of the things, like, you get out of, like, Gallifreyan being out there, even if it is free, is, like, people, I think, like, do a reasonable amount of, like, checking in with you and even just, like, sending you random things, like, just for
I very
fun.
much appreciate just, like, knowing all the crazy stuff people are making, and just getting that constant ping of, like, hey, you're connected to the community. Even if if I'm not very, like, active or whatever. Like, I don't know, sometimes I'm feeling sad, and I remember that somewhere there is a doctor who shall remain unnamed that has the Hippocratic Oath, like, tattooed on his chest in Gallifreyan, and I'm just like, yes.
Yeah,
good.
she does. Yeah, there's someone
Yes,
like that.
there is. That's a thing that exists.
Christ.
Now I remember how we ended up talking about it at the housewarming is because I told you that a Jeopardy person actually had, like, Time Lord tattooed on herself in Gallifreyan.
Right, that was how we started the idea for this whole thing.
Yeah,
maybe that's the cover image for that.
just email the Jeopardy person and be like, hey, need your tattoo real quick. But,
can you come be our branding?
Yeah, no, because Pranjal and I, like, saw that, and we were like, oh, we know the dude who, like, made this, and it was sort of a weird moment.
That's very strange.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think the question of authorship is definitely...
What if I just wrote Who's the Spiciest Memelord in Gallifreyan and posted it to DeviantArt after, like, a 6-year hiatus?
Why?
That's a choice you can make.
That's a choice.
I'm not going to tell you to live your DeviantArt.
No, I feel like that's not the correct decision. The idea popped into my head and I felt the need to share it.
Wait, but
a year from now, we're going to be doing another internet fame panel about the highly regrettable Spiciest Memelord in Gallifreyan on DeviantArt.
Sell t-shirts, you know? Like, that's
I maintain that a non-zero amount of people would buy a Spiciest Memelord Gallifreyan t-shirt. I'm probably one of those people.
Oh, is this?
You can make it
microphone is so bad, Rip.
Oh no.
I think it's... I don't know how to fix this, man. Like, I think it's just we're loud, right? Because, like, you can see... Like, I can imagine that when we're laughing, that bar is just going to get wrecked.
Yep.
So
we're running into the question of authorship and small media production as opposed to nice mass media.
Cross-merchandising, yep. Oh,
yeah,
man.
That's the one.
Yeah, I should rip in Pepperinos from
You could make a jar of pickles.
We still got a customer.
And what, just give it to you?
The spiciest pickles. Spiciest pickles.
We do still use it.
You should have your noodle soup and give it out.
Wow,
like too much.
I just had 2 bowls and it was great.
But we still do need to make that custom emoji, so maybe.
No fun allowed. Stop laughing. Wild laughter turns to static.
So I forgot to mention before you had me as a guest, my laughter is actually just static. It's a condition.
No, like, at one point, like, I'm sorry, you were laughing at something that was happening, like, we were watching TV, and, like, didn't you wake up, like, one of my roommates at some point?
Maybe, yeah, I think that sounds like a thing that would have happened.
Yeah, this is a problem. But, so going back to the question of authorship, what do you think, so, like, Matt Fury and Pepe?
Yes.
So, I guess, like, what would you do if, like, I don't know, some, like, Nazis started thinking that, like, Gallifreyan... what if instead of like
Out of curiosity, are there Nazis who do stuff in Gallifreyan?
I kind of don't want to know the answer to that
Yeah,
question,
that's
but
pretty fair.
like what if, right? Like the same thing of like there's this frog, he's kind of dumb looking, like let's make memes out of him, and then suddenly like oh now he's a like white nationalist thing.
yeah, I mean, I'd probably step forward at this point and be like, I'm not affiliated with this one. This was not the intended use. I don't know what I'd do beyond that.
Right, because like I guess like I just thought it was interesting because I feel like for Matt Fury, like that's sort of the first case I've seen of like somebody like it's different from people call it Streisand effect on it, but like I don't think it's quite the Streisand effect because it's the first time I felt like I created this meme. I should have some amount of ownership. When like before,
create memes. Anyway,
but like before, he was just as happy of like, oh yeah, it's like dumb stuff. Pepe's a cool dude, and now like it feels very naive, like quixotic.
Oh yes.
To go out and like try to say like Pepe is like a cool dude, but
I guess what's also interesting is that like I know with like the Pepe, I think part of the situation with him was like he really felt like he had like written that comic like as a little bit of an autobiographical thing, and that like Pepe really like stood in for him, and then he felt very personally offended that people were like taking this character who was like a representation of himself and like trying an alt-right symbol also.
Right, but I do really hope nothing like that ever happens, because like the enjoyment I get out of seeing Gallifreyan stuff is so much of it is like expressions of love. Like, there's so many people who like ask people to prom or like do engagement thing, like super nerdy people who are like Gallifreyan themed weddings or whatever, but there's so much just like general theme of love. So if it were used for hate, I would just be like, oh no, don't do that. But I also feel like it would be extremely quixotic to actually attempt to stop that, because the internet is a vast inscrutable being who does what it wants. I don't know.
No, yeah.
Have there ever actually been cases of people using Gallifreyan like ways you have been upset by, or?
I remember there was that Gallifreyan for Men videos.
Oh my god! Yeah, that's the one. Yes. There was a video that was like 10 Gallifreyan tattoos for men, and I just. That's something that I pretty explicitly don't endorse. Down with the gender binary. Gendered marketing is dumb.
Oh yeah! Oh, awesome! Oh yeah! I am the Jeopardy kid. We're having a panel on internet fame. This is what Chetro, I think Chetro1 is saying. But yeah, Antechamber is a really cool game. Yeah, so I guess I've been playing with Mehitabel, and this is sort of like the talk show of internet fame. Oh, and Brinkman's awesome. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about like internet fame, we are happy to keep yammering for as long as this stream is gonna go on for
I can just go through all the fun stories for a long time. So please cut me off. Ask me actual interesting things.
Yeah. So
that is an actual interesting thing, but
I mean like. Okay, that's enough like soliciting from the audience. Please send us more questions. But like the whole like authorship thing, because I'm also thinking about authorship, especially with like what's it called? Hollywood sort of imploding with all of like the hashtag Me Too scandals and stuff like that, and separating art from sort of like the sinner, I guess.
Right.
And then like. And then you have like the opposite case where it's like the art is being used for like bad purposes, even though that wasn't like the creator's intent. And I have no idea how to really answer these questions. Like I keep hearing like different perspectives, but I'm not sure, so
yeah, I haven't. I would need to consider that a lot more before I came to a conclusion about how I would handle that one. It's just such a bizarre possibility to consider.
Yeah, it's also just an interesting one to think about, like how the communities around the things would react. Like I feel like I get the sense in general that like the kind of community there is around Gallifreyan is like the sort that if you were to make some sort of statement that would maybe carry some weight with people, whereas like I'm not sure like if that's been like feel like that's been like not your experience or.
Hey, Loren, can I ask the opposite question?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you did something very bad. I'm not implying that you will.
You don't know my past year.
But let's say you did something very, very bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right? On the level of the shit that like started Me Too.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do about the things you've created then?
I mean, that's a difficult question to answer because it's difficult to put myself in that headspace. You're essentially asking, like, if I were a different person, what would I do? And I can't answer that because I'm not that person. But I assume that if I were that person, I would still want my art to be associated with whatever values I held.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think there's a question for Mehitabel.
Yeah, so question from Can I says, we've only heard stories from 2 of you. Have all 3 of you had experiences with internet fame?
So, like, I have not had any experience with large-scale internet fame, really, which is mostly kind of why I'm moderating here. I have, I don't know, like, various dumb, like, one-off things of things getting surprisingly more picked up than I thought they would. Probably the, like, one case I have of being really weird by stuff like this, at some point I drew some fan art for the, web fiction Unsong, and it's funny because that's probably the single thing that, like, most people I meet in the wild who have heard of me before actually know me from, and it's strange because, like, I self-publish comics, I do other things that I would like people to pick up on more, but I have actually on multiple occasions just met other people and been like, my name's Mehitabel, and they've been like, Mehitabel, that's a rare name, are you the person who drew the Unsong fan art? And I'll just be like,
Whoa.
I've only had 3 or 4 times, but it is very strange when it happens.
No, I totally forgot about that, because, like, it's the same thing, like, just as, like, I would be excited for someone on local TV. Like, I was really excited when, like, you got this, like, author shout-out on this,
I think that even though that's so much smaller scale, it does have the same kind of aspect of, like, I think, like, a thing that you've both been talking about kind of weirding you about these things, is that, like, it's really hard to predict what the thing that's gonna take off is, and, like, why this particular thing that you did, and that's very much the way I feel about this.
I'm thinking also about my friend, SMP, who, what was it? There was some, like, dumb coding thing going on, so he made a program that would say, like, turn any Python program into, like, 6 characters, and he called it, like, or 4 characters, and he called it, like, 4char, or something like that, you know? And it was just a really dumb, like, very easy, simple program to write, and then it got, like, big on, like, either Hacker News or Slashdot, and it became, like, his most, like, forked repository, and then people are like, oh, you could do it actually in, like, 3 characters, and then, like, one-upped him and stuff like that. And so he was just, like, distraught because he's done all of his other coding things, and then, like, the really dumb thing gets popular. But unfortunately, he's running around Hall trying to talk to somebody. He runs into me, and he's, like, talking about, I have 40 stars on my GitHub, and I'm like, and I'm actually, like, really excited for him, because it's like, oh, it's just, and then, like, there's a moment when he just clicks, and it's like, oh, wait, why am I talking to him about this? Yeah, no, that totally counts. Like the magic of the internet now is that we can have all of these, like, even...
Yeah.
Right.
And I guess, like, that is one of the things that's, like, kind of exciting about the internet is that it's a sort of space where, like, having, like, very small but feeling meaningful to you bits of fame is much more common because, like, now that you can distribute things quicker and people can consume things quicker, like, there are more cases of, like, you make a thing and some people get invested in that thing, are excited about the thing for, like, a really brief period of time, and that, like, is a little bit exciting, creator side, even if you know it's just because, like, on the internet it is, like, easier to get things picked up briefly.
And then also the, like, extreme, like, narrowing of, like, right, the fact that Fault of the Stars Gallifreyan, like, merch sells, that's interesting, you know, just like a very
large degree,
very niche.
Yeah. Also, we have more questions, I think.
Okay, Osteophyte asked, what's the best fan encounter you've had? I think I've told this story before, but I got an email from this person, and it was just like, hi, are you Lilly from Jeopardy? I have some few questions. 1, do you play video games? 2, like, how many video games do you play? And I was, like, really excited, because I was like, oh yeah, I, like, study video games, and then, like, you know, during Christmas, I have a treat to myself, and I just play video games for, like, 24 hours straight, basically. Nice. And I was like, yeah, why are you curious about this? Next day, I get an email that says, hi, I'm this kid's mom. We were having an argument, like, Asian last name, so, like, we were having an argument, and I was saying that he plays too much, like, games, and he, like, said, I bet Lilly never plays video games. So this kid, like, took it on himself. He emailed MIT saying, hey, what's Lily's email address? I have stuff to ask, and then didn't get a response, but then, like, found the people directory and emailed me.
Glad MIT didn't sell you out like that.
That's true. Oh, it's so weird, right? And then so like,
I bet Lilly doesn't play video games.
Yeah, and it's like this...
I'm dying forever.
It's like this, like, 8 to 10-year-old kid, and I send the response back to his mom, because I'm like, darn, this is like classic Asian parent, and I'm like, yeah, I play video games, but working hard is important too, but like, being nice on your side and stuff like that. And then, like, she sends me a reply, she's like, oh, thanks for replying and everything. Also, like, here's a picture of us, like, going to, like, some random, like, national park thing, and I was like...
You totally should have, like, just, like, made that kid's life. You'd have been like, my parents always let me eat ice cream every day and play video games as much as I wanted, and that's why I'm a Jeopardy champion.
when he turns like 18 and is applying to college, applies to MIT, and was like, yes, I wrote to Lilly Chin, who had won Jeopardy at the time, and it provided inspiration to me that I could both be a CMS fuckboy and
I play video games and mostly I'm a CMS fuckboy.
That's really cute, though.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Let's see your best fan story.
God, I was going to say a different fan story that was like, touching and sweet and probably my favorite, but instead I'm gonna say that my interaction with a parent,
Yes.
which is the one time that I got a really angry call from somebody's mother, who had somehow gotten it into her head that Gallifreyan was slang for weed and that I was a drug dealer.
Can I say I really appreciate the mother who just took upon herself to call a drug dealer on the phone and be like, quit dealing drugs, you drug dealer!
A lot of levels of bizarre happening here.
Oh.
And I had to calm her down by essentially saying, like, no, ma'am, I'm not a drug dealer, I'm simply a huge nerd, and it took a lot of convincing. And to this day, I don't know what thought process led to Gallifreyan being slang for weed, but just like it's one of the most bizarre things I've ever encountered.
Wait, what's the touchy story?
That was when the MIT Museum had a The Science of Doctor Who exhibit.
Oh!
And I got about 15 emails in one day being like, hey, you should do this thing, you should do this thing, you should do this thing. So I signed up for the thing, and I had a booth there where I demoed my Gallifreyan translator and did translations for people.
Did you update it from your old high school one or no?
A little bit.
Okay.
It was still pretty bad.
Osteophyte wonders if these are the same
It
mom.
was the same. God, I hope so.
That would be hilarious.
Okay.
Yeah, because after she let the kid play video games, the kid got into drugs and then started doing Gallifreyan, and then
But yeah, there were a lot of fun interactions there where people would just talk to me about stuff. A lot of people who were sort of in the same Splash demographics. I also taught Gallifreyan Splash classes for 4 years after attending one in high school, which was bizarre. Rambling. This MIT museum, there was one kid who was just really touchingly starstruck, who had just gotten into MIT, I think. And was just legitimately looked up to me as an inspiration and was so genuine about it that I was just I just felt good for a solid 24 hours after that. And was also a really, really cool kid who was into the things that I was into, especially at that age. The whole mixture of art and technology, and we had a long, real good discussion about how isn't it a shame that people think of the dichotomy of art and tech as two different things that can't coexist? And it was a good time.
I'm glad you feel mostly positive, because I think I feel kind of cynical about the whole thing at this point, where it's just if people are really excited, I'm gonna respond in kind, but I think mostly I'm just pretty tired of it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, video games are a gateway drug, says Can I, gateway drug to Gallifreyan.
You're not wrong.
Cesium,
So did you play video games before making Gallifreyan?
Cesium, I'd actually be interested in hearing more about what you're saying, that if there's some couple from the internet that ended up naming their kid after your story character, you can say on the Discord or here, but that sounds pretty interesting as well. So now we have Linstra's question, which is, do you think there needs to be reform in the way you teach physical education in America? So
I have opinions on that one, I guess. No, but I actually do think that there should be a physical... I don't actually know a lot about non-Massachusetts physical education, but Massachusetts physical education was really bad and just, not structured and did not really include any actual education that wasn't just, encouraging kids to do the bare minimum of physical exercise and, not actually caring if you just wanted to sit on the side and draw comics for the entirety of gym class, which I definitely didn't do. So yeah, I actually do think that should be reformed, and there should be more education in the physical education, and also that it's just wrong for public schools to list people's scores on the that mandatory fitness test that you have to do to make sure the school isn't failing fitness education, because that just shouldn't be public. And
why not?
Because it's private test scores about people's fitness, and you just shouldn't put this up on the wall of gym it does what middle schools, they're gonna bully people for that sort of thing. That will happen. It did. Like, they also shouldn't do that with MCAS scores, which they did. That's my rant about Somerville Public Education.
MCAT scores?
Anyways, it's MCAS. It's the.
I was thinking like medical school.
I think physical education should include more on medical school prep exams.
I mean, physical education, right? What is more
anatomy and physics? So I don't actually know what physical education is like in Georgia because I went to public school for elementary and then was in private school. So I guess like the public school, I don't know, we like played ball and stuff. Like my favorite was Choice Day, which was every Thursday, and they would just set out a whole bunch of equipment and just like say like go for it, and like kids just want to run around.
I would have appreciated my elementary school's curriculum. I did that in college. When I was in elementary school.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, they taught us how to do a proper push-up
and
pull-ups for that mandatory thingamajig. And I thought the public scores were great, because you could match yourself with, like, other schools. It was great. But also, like, becoming competent at every single ball sport there ever was. And then you go on spring break to Sweden, and they're like, pickleball is a sport. Like, pickleball is not a sport. Look here. Anyway.
Oh, I would also like to add that those weird cart things that are highly dangerous and maybe
God, the
crash
little
into
square
walls or
ones.
ribbon should be in
Fantastic.
all public physical education.
the scooter thing.
Yeah.
Scooter things are best.
Yes.
So I guess I technically had like at the private school they had like regimented things, but like I don't know, I didn't pick up anything from that.
Mhm.
I was not very fit as a child, so I just kind of like suffered through all of them.
Yeah.
that
It
was
became significantly
my story.
sportier once I left that phase of my life.
Yeah, I feel like teachers in general are like very under-respected, and that's a huge problem, like one of the major problems in America. But I feel like that's especially bad for physical education teachers. Because they just are sort of generally thought of as, people who set out a bunch of equipment and go do whatever, and just like aren't super intelligent or competent, and generally burnout is like the stereotype that I've come to hear. And I feel like if we started thinking of them as people who actually educate us physically and make us form healthy habits, then maybe we will start doing those things in gym class.
I also think less conflation of team sports and particular sorts of social arrangements and being physically healthy would be a really positive thing for most middle schoolers, because I know that this is like, I think contributed to me being a lot less fit due to me being less socially competent with team things and not having friends in middle school, and in general maybe not want to participate in those things.
That's very real.
Oh, so Cesium posted like a really sweet story, which is that they posted some flash fiction, and then there were some comments, and then there was one comment was, "My wife and I are going to have a conversation about naming our daughter Andel. It's a lovely name."
Aww.
So, I don't know, that's kind of sweet.
That's very sweet.
Nice. Okay, what was the next question also?
That was it. A lot of memes about gateway drugs.
Okay,
Yes.
solid.
And plus,
So I have a question, because I know that a couple months ago when we were first talking about like you wanting to do a like internet fame kind of discussion thing, you kind of mentioned like one of the things being that being like having internet fame really changed your perceptions of what being famous was like and like the ways in which it wasn't desirable. And so I'm like kind of curious, like what are both of your kind of like perceptions of like what being internet famous would be like before that happened to you and like after that happened to you, and like how have your feelings changed about that?
I think the one thing, I think this kind of goes in as like being more cynical about the internet fame, is that like I look at the monetization structure of Twitch, and I like see like all the YouTubers being like, smash that subscribe button, and then just being like, it's a very I don't know, like it's very strange, because it's like I'm not sure that you know what you're getting into, and like sort of the lack of privacy thing of like like I was recognized at the airport, and it's just kind of like, I have to, like, there's people who I don't know who, like, know me, and it feels very, I don't know, just like, I feel like, I think for fame for myself, it's like, I don't really care about other people knowing who I am. I was just like, again, like, the local TV example, just my friends being like, look, Lily's on TV, isn't that nice? But, like, I think I've also been like a lot more sympathetic to people as a result. Like, quite a few people afterwards, especially for the Tournament of Champions, were like, "Oh, what did you think of this contestant? Were they a jerk?" And, like, yeah, I kind of thought they were a jerk when I was playing against them, but at the same time, like, when I talked to other people about it, I, like, definitely hedged my answer, like, more than I would before, because it's like, I don't really know this dude at all, and stuff like that. So, like, giving more people the benefit of the doubt is one thing, another thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it changed my conceptions too much. I think largely because I'm not very famous by face. I don't get the, like, being recognized in public thing. It doesn't really feel like an invasion of privacy. Even though, I don't know, I'm actually very surprised at that one, because my phone number did wind up on the internet in Gallifreyan, and I get, like, texts from people occasionally. But I think the most belligerent text I've ever gotten was some, like, I don't know, 12-year-old saying, "Fuck to you, fuck to you." Fuck to you. Excuse me, it was fuck to you. Wait 10 minutes. Fuck to you in the butt. And I've got that saved forever. But like people have been very nice to me in general. And I think that stopped me from being super jaded. The one thing I've gotten kind of cynical about is, like, wow, this is probably the thing that I'm going to be most famous for ever, even though I kind of had aspirations of, like, making video games or movies or whatever, and being famous for that. Oh well.
Kenai says, "Fuck be upon you."
And fuck be upon you too.
Oh my god.
And also fuck you.
Fuck be with you.
Give us this day our daily fuck. Anyway.
Yeah, I think I've said this before, but this is a radio show, and I, like, get to set the hours, right? Like, if like, the conflict happened, and, like, if I had a radio show at 12 to 2, I can't move it. I'm just gonna sit on the radio and twiddle my thumbs, being like, oh, I'm planning this, I don't know what to do. But, so Linstra asks, why is art important?
Oh.
Panel?
Well, I mean, we were talking about tech and art, the combination of that. So I guess, like, there's a classic comic for me. There's a classic comic which is there's, like, it's a lab and there's a robot, and the scientist is like, oh, we made a robot that can scream, and it's just in the background, and then another guy comes up and says, why? And it's while the is happening in the background, and that's basically, like, the TLDR of, like, why I think.
The opposite answer.
Why is that important?
Well, I mean, like, I feel like if you're not, like, aware of, like, the social and, like, all of these other implications of what happens, like, this is what you get. And then also, like, art is just sort of, like, an expression of human things, and I think...
Wait, so in this analogy is the robot that screams art, and it's like, why, but you should build the robot that screams? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I guess, like, I'm just thinking of, like, all the MIT nerds who would just, like, build robots that scream, but, like,
I've done that one, yes.
Don't think about the implications.
Are you saying, like, without art, all science is just robots that scream?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That actually is closer to what I was gonna say.
Okay.
What I was gonna say is that I think art is important because I don't think it's really possible to define art super rigorously, so my super liberal definition of art is that art is basically the ways that humans put communication into basically any form. It's all the media that we have, however abstract, however direct, whatever. And that's important because, obviously it's important because I'd be out of a job that I'm never going to have because I'm going to graduate with a CMS degree without existing, but it's also important because that's basically the basis of human society right there, is people being able to, take ideas from things that are inside their heads, do things that are inside other people's heads.
Yeah, and that's basically what I was going to say, but I would also, I guess, like to add that it does have the effect of, making life seem less isolated for those reasons. Again, with the whole, like, connection thing. Like, I don't know, the amount of stories I've heard of people who were, had various mental things that weren't going okay in their life and felt better about it because of art, TM, is just staggering. And I feel like, in addition to being a purely, I guess, what's the word? Purely, like, utilitarian, yes, we are making technology and science better through art and progressing further as a species through art thing that's very important. It's also important to not forget that it's just sometimes how we make each other feel better in a very simple way.
Yeah, like, it's pretty. It appeals to some sort of weird aesthetic sensibility in human brains that makes you happy when you look at it. And,
well, then what
that's
do you think?
utility.
Well, then what do you think about postmodernist things?
I think postmodernist things. So I've actually been having this discussion with Brinkabah for like the past 2 weeks about whether avant-garde art actually makes people unhappy. Because there's all these people who, you know, like all these postmodernists who write that, like, you know, like, we're making art that isn't mainstream cinema. Like, mainstream cinema is supposed to make you unhappy. So, like, if this defies your expectations, it should upset you and you should be unhappy about it. But, like, I actually think it is very rare that I've come across a piece of postmodernist art that did not have any aesthetic sensibilities to it, or was not at least, like, interesting in the ways that it destroyed my expectations in a way that made me feel happy and not entirely frustrated. Like, I actually think that despite the fact that people say they're making art to make people unhappy, people don't really actually put the time into making an object of just pure ugliness, or, like, it's pretty hard to make an object of just pure ugliness unless you're, like, the architect of Boston City Hall or something. But I don't know. I don't personally find myself actually, like, upset by most postmodernist art. I think, actually, most things that humans craft have some kind of beauty to them. So.
Agreed.
Alright, so we have another question from Chetro, which is, any thoughts on community college? Did any of you dorm on campus? Scholarships? I'm currently attending community college, and I'm looking to transfer to UMass Lowell for engineering, but I'm not certain it's the right choice. So, I guess, like, right now, we're all MIT, either graduates or students. So I guess for me personally, I don't know that much about community college, other than, like, I know, like, it's a pretty good stepping stone for, like, continuing on. One of the professors, like, graduated from community college, and, like, yeah, she's, like, one of the best professors that I've ever had.
Yeah, I don't know much about community college in general. I know some stuff about UMass Lowell, and I've in general, like, heard of people having pretty good experiences with most of the UMass schools.
That's more than I know.
Okay.
We did all dorm in dorms, though. So.
Yeah, we did dorm in dorms.
Yeah, I think MIT is also kind of a little bit weird for this, because, like, the dorms have more of, like, a... Like one of the things they'll talk to you about is like the residential experience, right? And they're like trying to sell this as something different from like why online classes will never be as good as in-person classes. Like, to be honest, I feel like for most dorms that aren't MIT or like weird places like that, it's basically a nice hotel, right? And you pay for an overpriced meal plan.
Yeah, I can generally recommend communal living. I'm like not sure.
Pay for an overpriced meal plan.
Yeah, I in general support communal living. I'm not sure there are things that, like, other forms of communal living, like living in a co-op or whatever, would provide that dorms do, but it's kind of a cool sort of living arrangement you don't really get in most other places in society, you know, where you're kind of expected to live, like, in an apartment with yourself or, like, maybe a couple other people, or, like, in an apartment building where you don't really talk to people, and being in a kind of large complex where you have, like, lots of other friends in the building with you is kind of nifty, and I think people should do more in our society.
For me personally, at least, it's an excellent balance between having your own space and having a communal space. Because, you know, like most people, I have moods where I want to be by myself and moods where I want to be with other people, and it makes the transition between those things really, really easy, and the activation energy really, really low, and it's basically ideal.
And I think also my boss at Apple, I think he also like either he went to like a 4-year or he went like to a community college and then to another 4-year institution. And he was commuting the whole time. He didn't live in a dorm. So on the practical level, he said that it was pretty hard for things like lab classes and things that were like more intensive because he wouldn't be able to go home. But yeah, and it was also a little rough because like there's the community at the college that, you know, it's... I feel this already of like living off campus, right? And then I'm like...
Yeah, 10 out of 10 recommend living in a dorm if you just want to like be in an ivory tower bubble your entire life.
How many colleges did y'all apply to? Is the follow-up question from Chetro. Yeah.
Geez.
Heck, if I remember.
Like 8-ish?
I don't... It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
I will mention, though, that at one point, the person that interviewed me for CMU recognized me as the Gallifreyan guy, which was strange.
Bringing this back.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's to bring this back full
Oh,
circle.
because he had the name, so it wasn't necessarily like a face. Yeah.
My MIT interviewer was a huge asshole, and the
Really?
reason I ended up living in Random Hall was at some point my MIT interviewer was like, first of all, he's like this sloty dick who just was like, you can major in humanities at MIT, but you're gonna hate it because you just major in business and hate your life like I do. And I was like, why are you trying to get me to make the bad choices you made? But at some point he's like, what are you looking for in a dorm? And I'm like, well, I kind of would like a place where I can have cool conversations with people about comparative media studies topics and or if I didn't know that terminology at the time, but whatever. And et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, oh, so you want to live in one of those dork dorms, like Random Hall?
It's a lot.
Good.
Yeah.
And you go, why, yes.
In fact.
Let's see, colleges, so, let's see, it was Georgia Tech, MIT and Stanford were the really big ones that I was thinking about. I think I applied to others, but those are the big ones that I was thinking about the most. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. Everything that I had on my docket was all tiny liberal arts places and MIT.
Was it MIT because of your folks? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And because it's just around where I grew up, and I like Boston a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Usually I don't leave home, but
I think MIT was my top school because of Splash specifically.
Oh, also because of Splash. Splash was relevant to my life.
Splash is it's a student-run program where just students, college students and people around the area teach whatever they want, and high school kids mob MIT, on the order of 3,000 to 4,000 students.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is really any topic, parasitic wasps, advanced mathematics. Gallifreyan was a class.
I taught a Tetris class, and then I also taught a class on modernist literature. So
I really gotta hack together my Is Homestuck a Comic class, which I think I'm gonna do
it.
next year.
is Homestuck relevant anymore?
It is! Hypeswap just came out. People still care about these things. They've got a new Homestuck sign personality test. You can find out what your zodiac sign is.
Moving on. Is seeing that we're getting real deep here and asked, what's the point of it all?
Ah, jeez. What are we defining as it all?
Well, that's
the
a
universe,
question.
everything?
What's the point of it all?
I'd say that my answer to that is pretty close to my why is art important answer. Positive subjective experiences, they're pretty good. The meaning we make in the universe, it's pretty good.
I don't know. I think, I guess this question is similar for me of, why do you want to have kids? Is that, I think it would be cool to teach people more stuff and, have a better understanding of how the world works. And even though, heat death of the universe and, all this other stuff is going to happen, I think it's pretty cool to, really know how something works. That's what drives me, is that, I just want to, I remember, maybe this is a little not PC, but I remember there was somebody who was talking about, what faith and belief meant to them, and they were saying, it's like going on an airplane. You don't know how the airplane works, but you have, faith that it's still going to get you to your destination correctly. And I'm like, that's not really it, right? Because what you actually have is you have faith that somebody knows how it works, and, someone engineered and designed it. And I guess, that's the kind of person I want to be.
Or I want to be the kind of person who throws my eyes up to the heavens and goes, I want to know how this airplane works, God.
Right, so I think it's more of for me, the point of continuing is maybe I'll make a little bit more advances, and then people will be able to have cooler stuff in the future.
Wait, speaking of this and Flash games, you should play On the Shoulders of Giants.
All right. I'll write that down.
Which is
That's an excellent game.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It is a Flash game about basically that. So
Okay,
Nice.
cool.
it's actually a really nifty thing that we could talk about on this some other day.
Linstra says it's the happiness of others for what's the point of it all.
Oh yes, that sweet empathy is
Yeah,
always
yeah.
part of it.
And then you're also an other to somebody else, so also the happiness of you.
Yes.
I don't know. What's your?
I don't know. I guess empathy is a big part of it. I don't know. I think if you analyze this question from a completely utilitarian perspective, it's kind of impossible to answer because something entropy. But fortunately, we are not completely rational creatures, and we have joys despite the eventual heat death of the universe. And I think it's reasonable to express those and find pockets of extropy where we can.
No fears. Heat death of the universe. One fear.
I mean, that's the one. I would buy that T-shirt in Gallifreyan or not.
Dying. Give me that for Christmas. It's happening.
Please.
Dying.
And I very much agree about the creating things bit of what you were saying, and really the entire bit of what you were saying.
I think it's
that feeling of sort of viewing the entire span of the universe as not a like progression from beginning to end, but as like one whole thing, and just making it a better place.
So the alternate point of it all is to eat, fuck, die, as Lystra is saying. And I'm also mildly amused that we have this sort of like gradient in terms of like most humanities to understand stuff, and you're like art, and you're like, oh,
we can put art here, and Rachel's also the same as continue.
21E.
Alright. Lystra asks, what do you think about file sharing copyrighted content?
Let's see, eat, fuck, die. I'm ace and I don't want to die, but I did eat
Okay.
Wait,
no, hold on. What you need to do is, okay, fuck, kill, marry, eat, fuck. I think I fuck, marry, eating, and kill, dying.
Yeah. Also fuck dying, but like, not like... Anyway.
Did I just hear like the transhuman manifesto?
I think that's the one.
Oh my god.
That is, fuck, kill, marry, that is my new transhuman manifesto, yeah.
No, specifically marry, eat, kill, die. Yeah, okay. What do you think about file sharing copyrighted content?
File sharing meaning like doing it pirating?
I assume it's pirating.
Okay.
And I guess I want to also expand this question about like
Torrenting and whatnot.
or like, suppose you were still like charging royalties. How would you feel now about like pirated content of like your own IP stuff? So I guess like
is Gallifreyan actually released under any kind of license officially?
I actually talked with a BBC lawyer about this.
Mm-hmm.
Not in an official capacity, just because my friend's dad happens to be a BBC lawyer.
Nice.
Very convenient there. I think technically the concept of a Gallifreyan alphabet that is circular is like BBC's thing. But the specific implementation of it is my thing, which I've decided to just sort of release publicly.
Like Creative Commons, or just like
not even Creative
like,
Commons, just like do whatever the heck you would. Like you can attribute this to yourself. I'll get mad at you, but it's not illegal.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess like what the original question it was.
I think that is actually a Creative Commons non-attribution license, where it's like you can share this as long as you don't associate it with me.
Oh, that's really funny.
Well, it looks like we have a necrophiliac on our hands. This can't I? So I guess the original question is file sharing and copyrighted content. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I do it.
Like, yeah, let's get the show shut down by the FCC. I'm for it.
I've already like put like Jeopardy episodes that were like clearly not illegally uploaded on there.
Yeah, and I feel like in the age of the internet, where everything is a meme, like copyright's a lie, and we're all gonna have to deal with that fact. That's what we've learned throughout this panel from this very platform that we are talking on.
Yes.
I mean, like, I don't know. Like, part of me does feel bad of like. I think definitely like as a kid I was more down for pirating things like that, but like now that I actually have income, however meager, like I feel like yeah.
I think like that said, we do need better systems of supporting creators that don't have to do with paying for digital content in the way that we have it set up now, because like the way that we think of ownership of digital rights makes no sense, but people should still be able to make money for making art if they want to do that one.
I mean, we still haven't totally adjusted to the concept of being able to arbitrarily copy files from a copyright perspective.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're getting there. I don't know, with the move towards supporting an artist rather than their art directly.
Mm-hmm.
What then you also get that complicated with like the current like sexual harassment scandals, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But I think that like for all, but I kind of feel like in that way, like I feel like if you're gonna make some art that's good and then be an asshole, like the world deserves your art and you do not deserve comments. Like I think that's actually fine. Like
now it's also saying like the world doesn't deserve your art as well, right? Like things get just like Kevin Spacey stuff immediately got, or Louis C.K. stuff immediately got deleted.
Yeah, that is true.
So
yeah, I also think that like, even though so few of the laws have changed, like, I actually think even most big corporations are getting used to the fact that copyright doesn't work on the internet. Like, the way that, like, music ownership on the internet has really changed from, like, you buy music and people try real hard to DRM it to just, like, realizing that we probably just should have kind of, like, streaming services and...
Right, like, the fact that Tidal is, like, it's not, like, no... I'm not going to put my videos on YouTube. It's like, I'm going to put this through an alternate service with much higher quality and closer to the release date.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to skip who really is the spiciest Memelord as a question. Okay.
That should know secrets that will not.
The spiciest,
You, dear viewer, you are the
the
spiciest
spiciest
Memelord.
Memelord was the friends we made along the way.
Oh my god. So Chetro continues. Did you all go to college straight out of high school? Also, I've always loved mathy, geometric, technological stuff, and my childhood dream college was MIT, but there's so much talk about how only certain types of people can handle the workload. I went to college straight out of high school.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah. We come from, like, pretty privileged backgrounds, it turns out.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then the follow-up question of, like, dream college is MIT, but there's a lot of talk about only certain types of people can handle the workload.
I mean, that depends by the definition of handle.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty large chance at MIT that you will find stuff that you really enjoy doing, and it's a lot easier to handle the workload when you're not just doing busy work all the time.
Yeah, I think.
And I think what people mean when they say a certain type of people is people who genuinely enjoy what they do and are motivated to do all that work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think MIT certainly did that for me and a lot of my friends. But having said that, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Do you want to?
But also, like, MIT kind of forces you to recognize that you're not going to be the best at whatever you choose to be excited about.
Oh yes, the imposter syndrome is very real.
I think that is true, but I think that is also a little bit true of the world in general. Like, I don't know, maybe other people have had stronger experiences with imposter syndrome specifically for MIT, but, like, I feel like MIT did not hit me harder with that than being in any other community where I was doing stuff that I really
It's
cared
not
about.
really imposter syndrome. It's more of just like, look, kid, you're like not the best, and you like need to deal with it. Like, because I would say imposter syndrome is like more of like I don't know, like like having an inaccurate representation of yourself. But this is just like no, you're not the best. Like, I think because I feel like there's this point in MIT where like the freshmen are insufferable for the first semester because they're each like the top of their own like school or like
they're used to being the best.
Not even like in their school academically, but like I like built a nuclear reactor in my garage or something like that. Just like something that makes them feel really OP. And then when they come here, they either like what usually happens is people overreach because they're doing that. And then they like fall along the way, and it's like, how do you pick up from that? And if it's not overreach, then like maybe it's just like the structure or like the structure environment is just something they're not used to. So I found the most interesting thing about MIT is that the workload was really self-imposed. There was nobody who like was telling you to like take a million classes and do all of these side projects.
Like you can graduate without doing a million classes. I did. I took like basically the minimum amount of classes.
Yeah.
And I was like occasionally pretty hosed and like sad about how much work I had to do for classes, but like I don't know. I didn't feel like it was nearly as much the case as a lot of my friends who were like taking on the extra classes because they just wanted to like do it all. And if that's the way you want to do things, then cool. There are lots of good classes for MIT. Take all of the ones that you want to, but it's going to be a lot of work.
I think like a good comparison is, at least for me, is Georgia Tech, which also has a reputation of being like very hard and very intensive class-wise. And I think the difference between Georgia Tech and MIT is that Georgia Tech, it's really just like I'm taking classes so I can get the degree and like go off to a job, and at MIT it's like I'm taking these classes because I'm interested in the material, or if I'm not interested in the material, then I'm taking classes so I can focus on these side projects. You know,
that was me.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest difference is just motivation, I guess. So when going back, I guess is like, is it only certain types of people can handle the workload? It's not like quite accurate. I hope that like we've shown. Yeah.
I guess what we've really been discussing is just the phrase "handle the workload" and how handle the workload is a bit of a misleading way to phrase it.
Yeah.
And that the workload does need to be handled, but it's not like MIT. It's not like you get to MIT and they just like fire hose a bunch of work onto you as an administration and say you personally have got to do all this work.
Yeah.
First of all, you're very much encouraged to collaborate with other people, and also a lot of it's self-imposed, like y'all were saying.
Yeah.
And it's also not all academic.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add on top of that. I think that's a pretty good statement of.
All right. Linstra asks, do you think governments have a right to censor the internet? Follow-up from Can-I. Also, what about the government regulating sites you'd call, like, shapers of discourse, such as YouTube, Twitter? So, censorship, and then, like specific sites like YouTube and Twitter.
We should get TL to answer this one.
Yeah, we actually totally should. And I'm going to say, first of all, I don't think they should be able to, and second of all, I don't even really think they can. Which is pretty similar to my ideas on copyright law, because maybe what you're learning here is that I'm kind of an anarchist about the internet and in general, which is true.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think governments have a right to censor. I disagree with you on the, like, Hyundai, though.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, like, having been to China, you know, it's...
I guess I'll rephrase that. Like, I think that there are definitely, you can shut down the internet, you can make it, you know, like, very difficult for people to get access to controversial content, you can make it very difficult for people to use the internet in general. I do not think it is possible for governments to have control of the internet to the extent that some governments say that they could if they would censor it or would like to have.
I'm still skeptical on this point, I guess. Yeah.
I also think that, I mean, kind of, I too am, you know, somewhat of a, you know, information wants to be free, an anarchist type, but there's also the problem that I have within that specific community in that people there are very much, I don't know, I think making things difficult to access is effectively censorship for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, you know, if they don't find something on the first Google search, or if it doesn't like show up on whatever social media, you know, they've got busy lives to lead. They don't have the time to, you know, go through all the VPNs and actually access the stuff. I think that making things difficult to access is, you know, equivalent to censorship for a large amount of people.
Yeah, I actually, I will do some reframing of when I said, like, I don't think they can. I think what I meant there was, I think often governments say, we want to censor the internet. They mean, we want to prevent this sort of crime from happening. And I think that people who want to do really dangerous crime are often willing to put in the time.
Okay, like more relevant topics.
More relevant topics.
Exciting. I think that, I mean that as in the government preventing censorship from sites like YouTube, like the whole adpocalypse thing. While that isn't direct censorship, it's pretty similar.
Yeah, so, I guess for me, this probably gets into the fact that I think where I actually have an issue with this is not even with the censorship per se, it's with content platforms like YouTube, which are these kind of massive collaborative co-creative things, even being owned by a single entity that gets to make choices about that. Like, I actually think where my problem lies with this is with YouTube having the power to make decisions about what happens on YouTube, as opposed to the YouTube community democratically as a whole having the power to make decisions about YouTube.
Let's keep going in this anarchy route.
I've just finished Pica Rumination,
so...
That's the mood for today.
So, yeah. I mean, like, so this is something that's sort of weird to me, is that, like, now you have, like, corporations, like, owning a media, right? Like, you can't say, like, letter writing is, like, out of the question, right? Like, you know, like, I guess, like, the U.S. Postal Service could decide that they're just not going to deliver letters anymore, but, like, I don't think that means that as a medium, this is gone. Yeah.
And I also think it's interesting the Postal Service, I think, has always realized that it can't start trying to censor things or intervene with things, or, like, you know, like, I think back when we have had mediums that have been very dependent on government infrastructure, like the Postal Service, they've often been very respectful of people's ability to use that because it's necessary for communication.
You're fine. Yeah. But I think it's just weird that, like, now, like, Twitter is just like, we're not going to support Vine. Like, Vines are just not a thing anymore. Right. Or, like, the Flash that we were talking about. So, yeah, I don't know. It feels strange. I actually talked about this on Zephyr earlier, but then it's like, why then also do we have we put trust in these media things to do, like, the censorship in some sense, right? Of, like, there's a lot of hate on Twitter. Twitter, why don't you get rid of the harassment, right? Or, like, Facebook, you know, you made all of this political posts come out, like, biased political posts. Why didn't you do something about it? And it's not like we would tell that the post office to be like, yo, post office, like, stop having, like...
Yeah. I actually see the Facebook and Twitter example is a little bit different, because I think a lot of the complaints about Facebook are not just you allowed people to post things which were bad on Facebook, but the algorithms that you use to recommend things gave weight to particular things which had negative effects. And I think that in that case, Facebook is actually doing an intervening that is different from what the Postal Service is doing, which I think they actually are responsible for making those choices.
It's not like the algorithm. I'm not. That seems to just put all the blame onto the algorithm itself of, like, Facebook.
I don't know.
There's a lot of algorithm blaming going on nowadays. That much is very clear.
But like it seems to...
Like, I think that I guess what I'm saying is that once someone's doing some stepping in as a curator, like, I think, you know, there are, like, certain, like, there's a difference, I think, between Twitter saying, like, we're not going to do anything, and then people saying, like, Twitter, you should do something, and saying, like, Facebook, you're already kind of doing something, but you should be doing a different something.
But, like, I guess I'm questioning the assumption of, like, why do we expect the media giants to already do something in the first place? Right? Like... Mm-hmm. Right, like...
in Facebook's case, I think it's because they claim to be doing something.
Yeah.
They, I don't know, they claim that, yes, we will create a, you know, globally connected community that, in which nobody feels attacked or whatever, and then people are asking them to live up to that promise, even if it's kind of inherently an incredibly difficult thing to do.
Mm-hmm. And I think on the flip side that Facebook claims that it is doing something and makes a lot of money off of saying to advertisers that it is doing something.
That's it. It's the advertisers.
Yeah, I think it's also a matter of incentive.
Right, like that's also part of why, like, the adpocalypse that you mentioned, right? It's like, one, it's the algorithm deciding that they're doing, like, dicey content, and two, the reason that this is a problem is because they're losing the ad revenue that comes from being, like, an independent content creator. So, yeah.
And I guess this also kind of relates to, I think, the conversation that you were having on Zephyr about, like, why do people think, like, the content creators, and that, like, these owners of the media platforms should be the ones who start censoring things, and how it kind of came up that, like, maybe people just think they should be because they are the ones who have the power to do it. Like, that there is no mechanism by which people can all collectively get together and say, like, we're going to change the way, like, we YouTubers are going to change the way that YouTube works. What you can do is you can petition YouTube, the company, to change the way that YouTube works. But ultimately, like, they hold the code that YouTube runs on.
Kenai brings up a good point, is like, I'm just not sure how safe I feel that basically the public opinion is controlled by a few corporations. And then, like, one could argue is that, like, it's always been that way, right? Like, of, like, you've got, like, one newspaper and, like, one television channel, you know, and then, like, once, you know, like, home cameras, like, video cameras, portable video cameras became available, then you, like, you democratize that aspect.
I think it is true now that there are more cross-media platform media companies, right? That I think it used to be more like radio stations were run by different people who ran the newspapers, were run by different people who owned television stations, whereas now, like, especially because the internet's whole kind of convergence culture and, like, that often all those media stations are the same media station, I think that is a difference.
I also don't mean to say that I don't feel scared about this, because, like, I also feel, like, mildly terrified that, like, it's like the big five. It's Google, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, and something else. I don't remember.
I learned that apparently in Europe people refer to this as GAFA.
It's Microsoft. Yeah, it's Microsoft. So out of these five, and they're like, you can maybe live without one, but, like, without two or more, it's like you basically can't in this day and age.
Hold on. I don't think that I use any of those.
Google, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Facebook.
Yeah.
I assure you that you use them.
I mean, like probably, like, to some extent, but, like...
Like, you don't use Facebook.
Yeah.
Amazon?
Nope.
Okay.
Except most indie web servers are hosted by
I do use a website that things host on Amazon.
Right, Amazon web servers and stuff like that.
Like, like, almost all, webcomics are hosted on Amazon.
That is true.
And, like, Google is also probably, like, the back end for for a lot of things.
I guess back end wise, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, like, pretty ripped.
Sorry, this didn't need to be a conversation about my personal crypto-analytic purity.
Also, all phones are one of these three.
Are all non-smartphones one of those three?
Oh, that's true. Non-smartphones.
Yeah.
Are you? Oh, you're one of those people. Oh, I'm so proud of you.
Aw. Don't be proud of me. Just be like, I'm broke. that's why.
Twitch is owned by Amazon.
Yeah.
Probably so is Whole Foods.
Yeah, let's get this Twitch channel shut down, guys. Come on.
I don't have any Whole Foods products here. Sponsored by Whole Foods.
Wait, is this? No.
I'm not gonna lie. So as part of being a Twitch affiliate, like, I can put products on on my page and say, like, I promote this product. So I think I was planning to just put a whole bunch of, like, my guinea pig supplies. So, like, I promote, like, I use guinea pigs for my streams. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Because I was like, but then it turned out to be too much work to register myself as, like, an affiliate with Amazon. So
I'm sorry, it was too much work to become a cog in the capitalist system, Lily.
Amazon sells microphones, by the way. Hey, like, So I looked at it. A good microphone is like $50. Like I have my like headset for when I'm sitting there doing code streaming. This is literally I just have this cheapo webcam that's like decent enough resolution for couch streaming, so that's what I'm doing. Plus, like if I wanted to do something like this and I had the nice directional microphones, then I have to get like 3 microphones. It's like $150. Yeah, like if I were making money off this stream, right? Like, but
time for that merch.
Yeah.
Yes.
You too could have guinea pigs, and I bought the premium pay for my
Pictures of your guinea pigs in Gallifreyan.
Moving on. Run Linux on a home soldered computer using DuckDuckGo is what Winster has suggested.
That's like approximately what I do, minus the home soldered plus a ThinkPad X200. So.
Let's see. Chatro asks, are transfers common at MIT? What about students that start college at a later age than most?
I'm not sure what the baseline is here. Like, they definitely exist, but I'm not sure how many exist at other colleges.
Yeah,
so I can't really compare them to...
Don't have college stats on...
Yeah,
I feel like you could probably look this one up, though. I don't know.
I do know that, so I was a lab assistant for a circuits class, and that there was some dude who was like... I have seen, like, significantly older people in both, like, my circuits class and my algorithms class, and I didn't ask them what they're doing, but, yeah. Wow, what's happening?
What's your favorite Ice Age movie? What's your favorite Ice Age?
I think my favorite Ice Age is the small Ice Age that happened in the...
I was going to say that one.
Thank you!
Alright, I'll check.
The effect on the history of the development of Albany was really relevant.
So for the microphone that you posted, Chetro, is it directional, or like could I use one microphone for like a group of people? Because this actually looks pretty good. Yeah, I might actually get this.
It goes immediately from discussion of the evils of Amazon to buying a product.
The crypto person nerd. So.
Nah.
This was my choice after some research. Yeah, Chetro, is this directional, or is this like, so like if I were wanting to do something like this, could I just have one microphone, would be the main question. Yeah, what's your favorite Ice Age? What's your favorite Ice Age movie? What's your favorite Ice Age? What's your favorite Ice?
Ice 9.
Nerd. I haven't seen any Ice Age beyond, like, the first one.
I haven't even seen
Or
any.
I've seen the second one. Yeah. I've seen
I've
the
seen like
first.
half of the first one.
They're really popular in China. Every time I go to China,
Really?
there's, like, another Ice Age, advertisement plastered around. So I know they made an Ice Age where they meet dinosaurs, which is, like, not right, but, you know.
Do you know why that's the case?
There's a lot of things that are popular in China, and I don't know why.
Okay.
A lot of things.
My favorite ice is spaghetti ice.
Oh no.
It has, it's semi-directional. Okay, I'm actually probably going to get that then. Thank you, Chetro. Dude, you're like the first person to be like actually helpful, because most people, most people are just like,
Wow.
your stream sucks, your audio doesn't work, you got echo, and then I'm like, can you help me debug this? Because I'm like a complete Twitch noob, you know? Like I finally figured out how to stop the echo. I can't figure out how to get this, like, bitstream to stop, like, cutting out. I think it's Comcast. I think blaming things on Comcast is a good thing, but... Yeah. The correct answer is Vanilla Ice, apparently, for what's your favorite ice. Yeah, I'll actually get this microphone then. And, so I guess I'm leaving, next Monday? Yeah, next Monday. I'm gonna try to keep streaming, when I'm back home in Georgia. But any microphone improvements are gonna have to come afterwards, because I'm not moving the setup already is a lot.
How long are you gonna be away for?
3 weeks.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah.
What do you mean by moving this up? It's literally swapping out the camera.
No, like for example, if I want to do like the Shenzhen IO, like it's really helpful to have 2 screens, so I can watch the chat. I can like look up the data sheets and stuff. And like even when I was just trying to stream the Jeopardy episode at school, it was really hard because I was like, oh my god, every time everything's where I want it.
I'm sure it was an Amazon shell.
Hey, but if you want to buy guinea pig supplies, I could refer you to the top-notch hay. Picky guinea pigs will eat it, not the other kind of hay, which they'll just pee on and be unhappy at you. Yeah. God,
Good things to know.
Okay, but how do you feel about your Casper mattress?
Well, I live in a closet from a mattress I got for free from one of my friends. So, if you have questions about closet living, I can also answer those. You should subscribe free with Amazon Prime. Wow.
Amazing.
I forgot that Amazon owned Twitch.
I did not know that one.
I did not know that one either.
Why does Yahoo keep making bad decisions? Like, let's buy Tumblr. You know, like if they bought Twitch, it would be like much. You know, like would they have known?
I actually do find Tumblr very interesting as a social media platform, and some of the stuff we've been talking about, right, about like people kind of expecting social media platforms to, you know, or the owners of the platforms to change things about the way it works, to censor things, to curate things. Because I feel like Tumblr, much more than any other social media site I've ever been on, is just very conscious of their relationship with the people who run Tumblr. Like that,
openly antagonistically so.
Yeah,
Yes.
and in fact, like it is an entire part of Tumblr meme culture to talk about the ways that Tumblr is bad and the ways that Tumblr staff is bad at responding to criticisms. Like, I mean, in general, I feel like Tumblr is one of the most meta social media sites in the sense that I feel like Tumblr attracts a particular kind of, like, media studies sort of person who wants to think about the way dynamics of Tumblr,
Are you just calling yourself out here at this
yeah,
point?
I am, but, no, I think sometimes, like, memes, like, get meta so much faster on Tumblr than other social media sites.
Yeah,
I think
I
it's also,
definitely
like,
feel
a
that.
fact of this. And, like, it's not that rare to see Tumblr posts about, like, the ways that memes get passed around Tumblr. Or...
I think you know the one thing cool about the Zephyr. Zephyr is an MIT specific chat medium. But like how you have juxtapositions of like two weird things that kind of get smushed together. Tumblr has that too.
Yes.
Now that I'm thinking about it.
And Tumblr has actually lately been kind of trying to make various moves away from having random juxtapositions on dashes, that a lot of the new things that Tumblr's been introducing that people don't want Tumblr to be introducing are like ways to organize your dash more, ways to organize content that you see on other people's blogs more, and everyone's been like, this is not what having the beautiful ephemerality and juxtapositions of the dash is about. So
the ending was a lot. So for my crotchety, I don't understand kids these days. I don't understand Snapchat as a medium.
I totally understand Snapchat as a medium. It's a modern Claude class. I wrote a final paper for CMS 100 about this.
Good lord.
You did write about this.
Yeah. I think that the Snapchat is, or in general modern smartphone culture, is proof that Susan Sontag is wrong and we don't take photographs to immortalize, we take photographs to create in the moment and to reframe our experiences as things that, you know, the picturesque and a thing that could be photographed rather than a thing we're experiencing through our eyes. I think that's why Snapchat's popular.
Yeah, sure, but why?
Because there's an inherent joy to imposing your vision on the universe through a frame. Putting on reality and saying, here's this world that doesn't make sense, but here's a little square of it that's mine. You know, like... And
also just, you know, the whole picture's worth 1,000 words thing. Like, if you think of it as a communication medium rather than a, I'm taking pictures to save them for later thing.
Yeah. No, and I think it also very naturally uses the smartphone as a communication medium because it's using, all the capabilities, like the text, the sound, the video. I think that Snapchat, much more than any other smartphone communication medium, really lets you convey a sense of, you are here with me, seeing the things you're seeing, being part of these snapshots of my life,
I don't know. I feel like it very neatly addresses the urge to communicate to somebody else instantly the experience that you're currently having. I don't know, you ever just, something's happening to you and you're like, man, I really wish blank was here to, experience this with me. If only I could very easily and suddenly share this experience as a whole without, removing myself from the experience by doing that.
I guess that actually resonates more with me because oftentimes what I do then is I actually just, take my notes and I, write down. But, I think that's also part of it is I've taken too many CMS classes and, taking screening notes is, now a very valid form for me to experience things. So when you're in a film class, you actually are writing down nearly the entire time about what your observations of the film are and things like that. So I went to a WWE Monday Night Raw for the first time.
Wow.
It was an experience, and then the way I could only understand this experience was I was taking notes throughout the entire thing about the audience dynamic and the sounds and ambiance. It was very interesting.
I actually feel so conflicted about that one because I totally get what film scholars say about the like you should be taking notes because it gets you in the mindset of thinking about this thing like analytically and remembering these things, and like I feel weird not taking notes now that I've done film scholarship, but I also totally do not have the like visual multitasking or ability to write without looking at it to watch a movie and write a thing down at the same time, and I constantly feel like I am just jarring myself out of even being able to pay attention to movies by taking film notes, like, and that actually is so much more effective for me to continuously see a thing while thinking film note type thoughts. I'm still trying to figure this one out, like, is it that I need to get better at film notes? Is it that, like, we're actually kidding ourselves that writing things down makes you more in an analytical mindset than not writing a thing down does, especially if you have to take time away to write the thing down?
I mean, I am more that one, but also have a bad memory, so...
Yeah,
I can't read my handwriting, especially not in the dark while not looking at it.
Okay.
No, that's 100% for me, is that, like, I don't remember anything unless it's written down, even if I, like, never read it afterwards, just, like, you know.
Great. Well, no, with me it's more like, I can remember things if I can remember things, what would that be like? But I can often remember things if I just sort of see a brief note that connects my mind back to the piece of the movie that I had that thought about.
Okay, so see, I just feel like having thoughts at all about the movie is that note for me. Like I feel like when I have thoughts about movies, it's not like an isolated thought, like remember that person's phone number. It's like it's a web of interpretation that connects to all the points.
That's too much to analyze.
I agree, but a web of interpretation is also a thing that I can forget.
I guess.
Chatro asked us,
that's why I just zephyr everyone about things after my film experience.
Chatro asked, what are your experiences reading books?
Pretty positive in general.
I do write in books, actually, probably much more than I write while reading films, and I think some people are disturbed by this. And,
like margins?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I do quite a lot of margin scribbling.
I think, like, because similarly, like they said, like, oh, when you're reading a book, like, underline the parts. I did it, but, like, it never really took hold.
No, with books it makes so much more sense than with movies, because in books it's a medium where you get to control your reading speed, and so taking notes is a way to make yourself slow down and think about a passage, whereas for film, taking notes is a way that you have to do in the same time as the thing is rolling, so you're losing not only bits of the movie, but also the sense of duration the movie is supposed to give you, because you're doing a different activity other than just sitting in a theater with nothing and watching it. Like, it seems like it's fundamentally going against what the medium wants to be.
But, like, I think for books, I'm not doing marginalia scribbles. I'm actually taking it out as well. Like, I would be like, oh, like, that's a really good passage. I'll, like, write it down and, like, note it. So, I'm not sure
I think transcribing is also, like, a thing that works for me. Like, I do a lot of note cards.
Oh, many, few, good, bad. Like, less media, more, like, what do you feel about books in general?
I used to like books a lot. I think now I'm less excited. I still like books, but I have not actually read any non-academic books in a long time. And I think I am much more excited about catching up on all the more visual media that I did not get as much of in my childhood.
AKA like the video games.
Video games, television, comics, yeah.
Is comic not a book to you?
A comic is not... one of this person said books. I did not assume they meant comic books. I think some comics have the form factor of a book. I think I consider them to be a different medium from... I think if someone says books, I think they mean print books.
Or like
text,
literature.
Text, yeah. Text books.
Book texts.
Yeah. Book-type texts, which are text.
Wait, Christmas carolers exist. Yeah. Like, our friends, actually, your house is actually having, like, wassails, which I didn't know was a thing. Because it's like, love and joy come to you, and to you your wassail too. I just assumed, like, a wassail was, like, a servant that you're just, like, bringing you around.
No! Wassailing is, like, the best tradition of going, like early Christmas caroling, right? Like, now Christmas caroling is all, like, you know, this, like, non-political activity where you go and spread joy and goodwill around your neighborhood. But back in the day, the deal with wassailing is if you're rich, you know, you're in your town carving up your roast beast in your own nice house. But if you have no money, you go bang door to door and you go sing at some rich people until they give you some figgy pudding so you leave. And that's how...
I think ale is the staple there.
Yes. So you can be more annoying at the next house that you visit and get even more figgy pudding and ale ad nauseum.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yes, this is crazy. Or like it's also like this is also like where like Christmas mumming traditions come from, right? Of doing like, you know, like this like the kind of theater version of caroling, because most holidays start off as like these kind of like slate acts of like proletariat resistance of today's day, so we can go and do something that we wouldn't usually get away with in terms of stealing stuff from the landowners. Wars.
But like all of this time, I've always thought a wassail was like a servant because it's like love and joy come to you, and like like a side note, like you have your wassail as well. Like I guess we have to.
By a convoluted chain of logic, that's very true. But
I also don't know what's up with the grammatical construction of "and to you your wassail too." Like, is it like, and we also wish you some merry wassailing, which you won't do because you're a rich fucker. But like, if you did, like, hope you have a good one.
Well, that's the thing. If I understand this correctly, things only got belligerent if they were refused food. Like,
right.
A lot of the times, it would be like, oh, we're wassailing you, where's our food? And then they'd be brought food by the servants, and they'd be like, yeah, merry wassail to you too. And
Is Good King Wenceslas a wassailing carol because it's like a how-to carol? Like, the way that you should do is so people come to your house, and then you should be all saintly towards them. And if not, then bring us a figgy pudding.
Yeah.
So does that mean we should like prepare some food for you guys when you come over?
Yes.
Wait, I thought we're wassailing to them.
Yeah, we would be the ones being demanded food of.
Or are you the rich landowners?
Apparently.
You guys can dress up like rich landowners?
Don't. Why are you calling me out like this?
Okay, I guess we kind of distracted from the
from the books question.
Sorry, guys.
I enjoy books. I think books. There are specific scenarios in which a book is the best form of media to enjoy.
I just like that feeling of like getting like totally like sucked in as much as you want, you know. Whereas
are you saying books are more immersive than other forms of media for you?
No, it's like different, right? It's just like that feeling of just like unfortunately the most recent time I had this was like a really crappy book. And like after I read it, I was just like, I feel like I just ate a whole bunch of junk food. Like it was really entertaining in the moment, but then afterwards I was just like,
what
trash.
book?
It was Ready Player One.
Oh my god.
It was like it's very engrossing, but then you're just like, I literally just read this guy's like fan fiction about how he misses the 80s.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
that's most books I like. I actually do think I understand what you're saying about the more immersive though. Like in some ways, like it's kind of actually opposite of more immersive. Like because books require you to put in more work to create the fantasy world of the book. Like when you get into the fantasy world of the book, it's like there is some sense of like this is so deep an illusion that I'm ignoring the fact that what I'm actually seeing is some little black words on a little white page, and like that feels powerful in a way that like someone else is doing the work of making this world real maybe doesn't. And
there's also the thing where, I don't know, the reason I like books is because, like, the ideal situation is I've got a sort of long-ish, but unclear how long it will be, time in which to experience media, and it doesn't really make sense to just sort of, like, you know, sit down and watch a movie or something during that time, since it, like, fills an awkward period of time, and there's, like, a whole arc during which that doesn't really fit the time. But with a book, you just sort of, like, sit down, you've got the book, and then you're just in that media world.
I really have that cultural belief that books, it's okay to put down a book in the middle, but it's not okay to put down other things. Is it about distribution techniques? Like, is it because movies were in theaters, you're not?
No, I think it's because movies are more explicitly meant to be watched. You know, like, when somebody's writing a script for a movie, they assume that someone's going to be watching it the whole way through.
But, like, it's something like, why do writers assume that? Like,
yeah, probably because of the distribution methods.
But I think it's also interesting because, like, I remember talking to someone and they were like, oh, like, I don't watch movies because they take too long. I watch TV shows instead. But I was like, but pure duration-wise, like, it's like my duration thinking cap on. I was like, but pure duration-wise, the TV show is much longer.
That's also interesting because people have started making, Netflix has started making TV shows specifically to be binge-watched.
Right. And
I also
marathoned.
Yeah, but like so then I was saying, I was like, you know, like you can just go to the bathroom. Like I was like, oh, I need to go to the bathroom. Like you can go to the bathroom in the middle of the movie. And then it was like, ah. And I was like,
I actually also wonder, like with movies and TV becoming more portable and more accessible, not in theaters. Like I actually feel like I almost see this happening. That there are lots of people I know who are much more comfortable than I am with pausing a movie or a TV show like in the middle, or just like watching things in partial episodes. Like my roommate does this all the time. It just like walks halfway in through an episode of Stranger Things and then like leaves 3/4 way through the next one. What are you doing? And I wonder
think that's why I watched Rick and Morty, actually. Because Putz was always watching Rick and Morty, and eventually I think I saw all the episodes.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. But, like, I wonder if that actually has to do with the fact that movies are moving a little bit more into that kind of space that books are, of, like, now that you can take it with you and you don't need to depend on being in a specific place at a specific time to watch the movie.
I think one thing interesting is that mobile games fill that, like, portable niche as well, that, like, I can set this down whenever. Because actually when people send me YouTube videos, I usually don't end up watching them, because, like, it's like, oh, you're asking me to, like, have, like, eyes and ears attention on this for, like, 5 minutes straight.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know, like, even though like I've definitely played much more on a mobile platform.
And I definitely think that the straight is actually important because like if someone sends me a journal article, it's probably going to take me more than 5 minutes to read.
Yeah.
But I think the reason I actually will do it is because if another conversation comes up within those 5 minutes, I won't feel bad pausing in the middle of reading an article, whereas it does feel very jarring to me to have to like stop and start a YouTube video a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And with games, it's even more so. I think, like developer, as a game developer, I definitely feel incentivized. Like there's industry incentive to not make your players feel like they can just quit anytime, and to make them feel like, oh, okay, I beat this puzzle, now on to the next one. There's no exit point, ideally. And by ideally, I mean according to the bounds of capitalism against which we strain every day. But whatever.
All right, I'm gonna take this as the last question. If you could become famous for doing one thing of your choice, what would it be?
Just like presume that like the thing is like doable because like I don't know like making people immortal,
what I was thinking.
Going to space.
Oh, like the transhumanist trash.
Yeah, congratulations, you had invited the
You're welcome to
transhumanist
Transhumanist
trash
Power
company.
Look, I just like was like I need to talk to internet. I need to talk to Loren about like internet fame. Like, no, I make a mistake. It's just more of like, you know, I bet like there's like
You're surrounded.
Oh my god, whatever.
But yeah, no, that's actually exactly what I thought when I read that question. I was like, how doable are we talking here?
Okay.
But I feel like the spirit of that question is more along the lines of like things that we have realistically dreamed of being famous about.
Or even like things you've done. Like, what if some random thing you've done actually was the one that got acknowledged? And
maybe he was talking about something you've actually done in your life. Yeah, no.
What I have actually cured death.
Wow, why are you holding out on us like this?
Yeah, that's actually pretty bad. No, I mean, like, I remember, like, Churiat, another viewer, like, was, like, saying, like, oh, like, you know, wouldn't you be excited if someone wanted to date you because of Jeopardy? And the answer is, like, no, because that's not, no, right? Like...
I have been flirted with via Gallifreyan, and it was an experience.
Oh, jeez.
That I should sort of do these pictures. But, let's see. I had an answer for this one, too. Oh, there are some very silly games I made a while back that were, like, you know, like pro-mental health games that weren't super good, but I feel like if I got famous for those, they would be, like, circulated and imply that they worked somewhat, and they would improve people's mental health, so, like, that would be a good situation.
I guess I'd say, like, ideally the thing I've done that I would want to get acknowledged for is, like, the comics I make, but I also kind of recognize, like, the comics I make are for hella niche audiences, and that I don't want to change them in any way that would make them work for bigger audiences.
Would recommend getting famous in hella niche audiences.
I mean, I guess so. But yeah, I like the zine world, and I'm not sure I'd actually want to get too famous for the zine world, so...
I mean, not too famous for the zine world, but too famous within the zine world sounds like a pretty fun thing.
Yes. It's just, that's a hard line, right? Like, it is like
True.
zine world, first, second publishing. Like, you done?
Oh, I don't know. I like always wanted to be like a famous scientist or engineer, so I'm gonna stick with that. Cause like, I don't know, like I feel like the research that I'm doing is really cool, and like I like this feeling of like I look at other research and I'm like, oh, that's a cool idea, and you made a cool thing, and I like other people to be like, you made a cool thing, and this is actually useful.
Yeah, tenure wouldn't be bad, but
it's not really famous. You don't really get famous for making tenure. You're more like you're famous and then you make.
No, getting your tenure revoked, you get famous for that.
Yikes.
That's literally what I meant. God, if you get CMS tenure revoked, that's.
Anyways, yeah. So this was internet panel. Thanks everybody for coming. So yeah, I stream Thursdays 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as
this one.
Sunday. Huh?
Sorry, the person said I once made like a really funny joke. That's my choice. I think that's like what happened to Lilly. That's literally what we were talking about.
Yeah. So yeah, I stream Thursdays 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as Sundays noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Times are probably going to change when I go off for break. This was nominally the noon to 2 slot, but schedules being as they are. So yeah, join the Discord, smash the subscribe button. Except don't in Twitch because that costs money. Like follow, friendly follow. I don't know. But yeah, thanks for coming, guys.